Good morning. Good morning. Sounds a little better. We want to welcome you to this session. This is our first time doing this session where we're speaking with you to glean from you to see how you can help us in our roles as student life advisors. The rules are there aren't any. Will be an open conversation with our panelists and with you to ask us any questions, but we want to learn from you how we can better serve our students. Our panelists will introduce themselves.
Oh, right now?
Yeah, right now.
Okay. I thought he was going to keep talking. Hi, everyone. I'm Asia. I'm the new Director of Student Activities at College of Alameda. So I just started on January 8th. But I am not new to student affairs, student activities. I've actually worked in the California community colleges, advising student government and overseeing student activities for about 12 years. So that's me and my experience.
My name is Montel Floyd. I'm also a student at Merritt College. I am currently on ASMC as an inter-club council chairperson.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daisha Richardson. I am a student at Merritt College. I am the ASMC secretary. I am a dual major, health sciences and social and behavioral sciences, and I will be graduating this spring and transferring to Tuskegee University in this fall.
Yay.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tara. I am a student here at Laney College and sometimes at Alameda. I am currently a math tutor for Mojo Ubaka and an in-class math tutor for Mojo Ubaka, and also an ambassador and part of the teaching committees and other things on campus. Everyone knows I'm very social. I'm currently a math major, and I can proudly say after 4 long off and on years at Laney College, this is my last semester. I'll be graduating with my math degree and transferring to the UC system.
And I want to add that Tara is a wonderful student with Umoja, and she'd like to be a professor, hopefully here at Laney College, so we want to encourage her. I'm Kimberly King. I'm a faculty member here in psychology and African American studies, and I'm the Umoja faculty coordinator here at Laney, and I'm on the PFT Executive Council as the diversity chair.
So Kim, while you have the mic, why don't you just tell us your program and how we can engage with that?
Okay, so I am here at we have Umoja. The Umoja program is a program that exists throughout the community colleges. Just to talk a little bit about our program. So Umoja is a program to help Black students be more successful in college and to transfer from the community colleges to 4-year schools or whatever they want, whatever their educational goals are. As far as student engagement, it's great because we have a village space on campus where students can come and socialize, they can come and study. We have a computer lab there, and they really have a safe space for Black students and other students. All students are welcome. It's just that it's centered around the Black experience and trying to make a supportive area for Black students. We have these workshops, which are one of our most engaging aspects of our work. We have a workshop every other week that we ask our students to come to. It's about a 2-hour session, and we talk about socio-political issues that might be affecting them, as well as study skills and things like that. So some of our topics that have been very interesting are like the history of the Black Panther Party and COINTELPRO, and then students always want to talk about how that relates to what they're facing today and what's going on in society today. We kind of conducted almost like a seminar, so there's like a presentation and then there's a lot of discussion, and I've just been really impressed with how engaged students get into that. We've talked about gentrification and displacement in Oakland. We've talked about mental health issues and health issues. And mass incarceration and the situation for formerly incarcerated students. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about that we do that I think is engaging for students is the teach-in process. So you all probably are familiar with what a teach-in is, especially us older people, because that was something that was done a lot in the 60s and 70s related to, it's an educational experience about a socio-political issue. So it's kind of both educational and political. And so we've been doing these, we've done 6 of them now in the past 3 years. And we have them about once a semester, and we encourage faculty to bring their classes to it. And the organizing committee is faculty, staff, and students. We're trying to get more students involved in the planning process, and I think Tara's going to be more involved this semester. But we do things that connect the big picture and national issues to local issues. So like our first one was about the Flint water crisis, and then we connected, and we had a speaker from Flint, Michigan, and we connected it to gentrification in Oakland. And then our most recent one was called Fighting for Our Communities, Fighting for Our Lives, and it was about gentrification and healthcare and about the A's Stadium and why we didn't think that was a good idea for Laney College or for the community. We try to make the connections between students' experiences on campus and their experiences in their communities and the larger national issues. And yeah, so that's it.
All right, so as you see, we have 3 students on our panel. So we're here because of our students, so we want to hear from them. Since this session panel deals with enhancing campus life, I would like to hear from our students, whoever wants to speak, regarding why you got engaged with student life.
Hello again, my name is Tara. And really quickly, I feel like my experience, everyone has a different experience, but me in particular, I got engaged in student life is because growing up in Oakland and Richmond, California, I struggled, had a really hard life growing up, dealt with violence, dealt with homelessness, and I just really wanted to change my path. And when I came to Laney College, I felt like it gave me a second chance. I was able to move forward. I was able to grab the courage from Umoja and ASLC on-campus programs to really move forward with myself and make a better second chance. And I think it's really important to give back to those students in need that don't have a voice or feel like they're lost or feel like they don't belong, and coming to Laney campus and having a community at Moja, having them provide meals for me sometimes, having them provide counseling for me sometimes, having those computer labs, being a part of Moja Ubaka just really changed my life, being part of ASLC and being part of the teach-ins. Being able to talk about political issues. Sometimes you feel like it's taboo to speak about political issues, or sometimes it may be a little uncomfortable for those around you. So to come together and build a community with other students on campus, and for us all to come together and talk about those political issues, talk about what's happening in the community, and also for me to come to Moja Ubaka, being an African-American student, not feeling as I can thrive in math, and seeing that I got the support from Tracy Camp, from Dr. King, to encourage me to be a math tutor after I got an A in one of my lower division math courses, and really climbing up the ladder and being part of the math program here, and just really opening my heart and really wanting to be part of the process of having students succeed, having students move on to the next level, and knowing it don't matter what color, race I am, what culture I come from, where I'm going, that I can be wherever I go, wherever I want to go, and be whatever I want to be. And if I want to be part of a women in STEM, if I want to be a math major, and I can do that. And I want to encourage everybody, no matter what their background is, and particularly students of African American descent, that we can also thrive in STEM in math.
Hi again. So for me, I joined student life because I'm a social type of person. I like to get to know people outside of my background. I don't really, care race, gender, sexuality, whatever. I'm just a social butterfly. I joined student government because I wanted to bring compassion and understanding and bring an open heart and open mind to the campus. For me, because I used to, get nervous like I am right now, speaking before all of you, but by joining student government, I got to step out of my comfort zone a little bit, learn how to speak more in front of people. I think that's very important. Also, I've gotten a lot of great opportunities by going to community college. You know, a lot of people say, oh, a JC is in the college, this and that. I'm like, no, it's the college. It's, you know, you're saving money, you're meeting different people, you're networking. I honestly see nothing wrong with community college starting there first. Personally, I like it. I wouldn't have been granted the opportunities that I was if I hadn't started at a JC, and I'm very happy for that. I've enjoyed working with Dr. Kitchen. He's a wonderful advisor. He's very compassionate. He's very opening. He's very, you know, he's an all-around great person. I enjoy meeting Dr. Burns. She is so compassionate. She's nice. She is always there no matter where. You can always knock on her door any time of day. She will make time and hear you out. And I enjoy Merritt College so much. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I joined student government mainly because I had a lot of friends on there. That was my first one. My friends like, come help me, come help me. 'Cause that wasn't my direction when I first started at Merritt College. But as soon as I joined, I seen the lack of spirit at Merritt College. And I was like, I want to see where I can take this. So the next year after that, I ran for ICC chairperson. And now Merritt's, we're still working on it, but it's getting bigger and better. And I like the spirit on the campus. And I wanted to see the students enjoy it. Because a lot of students come out of high school and they think that they'd have to go to class and just go home. It's campus life. It's just not, just because we're a 2-year don't mean we can't act as a high school or a university. We can have events on campus, we have plays, and I want more students to get engaged in the activities on campus because that brings them happiness after they're already stressed out from the classes and everything. So that was the reason why I joined it, and the opportunities going to DC with Peralta was amazing. Like things that I didn't get to do with other campuses I've been on. This is my 3rd community college I've been active in. So being at Merritt and being at Peralta period has been the most amazing experience for me.
So right now we'll hear from where the rubber hits the road, one of the advisors, the newest advisor on our team. She's the new advisor at the College of Alameda, Asia Butler.
Okay. So for me, I really feel like when we talk about co-curricular activities, it's really about how can we enhance the student experience overall, right? Because I really believe that students want to engage on their campus. They want to have a sense of community. They want to connect with one another. And they really just need like space and opportunity to express themselves, right? So for me, in order for, you know, co-curricular activities that promote student development and student learning to really be effective, it has to be fully integrated into the campus culture. And one of the ways that I feel like I've been able to do that in my previous positions is by definitely building relationships between on-campus and off-campus community partners, right? So really connecting with faculty. For the faculty in the room, I cannot overstate how important you are. I would not have been successful at putting on a number of events if faculty were not supporting, either bringing their students, serving as speakers, you know, giving me names of speakers, or serving as club advisors. So I know it can be really challenging because y'all have a lot of work to do, but the faculty advisors are very important because they provide that continuity, right? So we know our students are always, there's a lot of stop out or drop out, so it can be difficult for clubs to continue. But the faculty provide that history, and they really do help to kind of keep a club consistent and keep it going. At my previous campus, one of our largest clubs was the Delta Psi, and it was advised by the psychology professor, Dr. Elizabeth Maloney. And she stepped away maybe about 2 years ago because she became the CTA president, and that club went from like 200 people to 5. Like, it was just done. So it's really important, like that faculty engagement is important. I also feel like it's important that we reduce friction, right? So we can't make it overly complicated for students to start clubs or advisors to be advisors, and having challenges with ordering event supplies or getting food, like doing certain things. Faculty, we know y'all have a lot of things to do and you're very busy, so having to deal with some overly complicated processes is again another turnoff. So how can we reduce some of that friction, streamline some processes, and really help support faculty in a way that's going to contribute to students? And I think a third way that I've been able to do that is by making sure that I really take the time to understand the student population that I'm working with. What is it that they're looking for as far as events? What time are students leaving? Where are students going? Where are they hanging out? What are they interested in? And it's not about what I want, it's about what students want. So really kind of taking a design thinking or a human design thinking approach to it, where it's really understanding what it is that the students need and providing programming that is responsive to that.
Thank you. As we all know, next week is the beginning of the spring semester. At Merit, we call that week WOW, W-O-W, WOW, Week of Welcome. This is where students come out, where all the new faculty and staff come out to meet everyone. There will be a lot of activities, I'm sure, at all the other 3 campuses, but we need faculty and staff to help us do the work for our students. When we have events, we encourage you to participate. We try to have our events during college hour, which means there really aren't too many classes during college hour. So our hope is that when we have these events during college hour, that you will bring your classes to our events. Bring your classes, give them extra credit. We need to have you at the forefront to help us do the work that we need to do to help bring campus life, engagement, and involvement to our campuses. Going back to our students, one of our students mentioned Washington, D.C. Can you explain what that trip was and why we went and who you saw while we were there?
DC, we went to the 47th Annual Congressional Black Caucus. Yeah. That trip was amazing. When we first landed, we got on the red eye, we landed, and we went to the African American Museum. Yeah, African American Museum. We had 2 days there. The first day, trying to get emotional. I didn't break down because I was holding it in, but my friends broke down. It was a powerful museum. It was beautiful. We toured. I went to the whole part, so yeah. I met some amazing people. Them conferences, one that really touched me is the health. I went to a breakout on the health and how the 45 administration is dealing with the health and Planned Parenthood, and that really struck me and my friends really seriously, because in the African American community, a lot of us can't go to Kaiser and to Sutter and stuff like that, so like places like Planned Parenthood was where we go to get tested. And since this whole abortion thing is going on, it's like Planned Parenthood really don't do only abortions, so it's like they're attacking them because they do abortions, but it's only a little percentage. So all the other testings and things they give us to keep ourselves healthy is really sad that they want to take it away. So DC was really encouraging, and it opened my eyes to a lot of new things that I was blinded to.
Okay. I also went on the trip to DC. It was a lot of fun for me because, as Montel said, when we first landed, we went to the African American Art History Museum. It was really touching for me just going through there, looking at the art, looking at the struggle and the pain and the growth that African Americans have gone through, through slavery and to today's present time. And I also networked with a lot of people. I met Tamika Mallory. I don't know if you guys watched the BET Awards. She was on there. She received the Spotlight Award for being, I think, an activist in the community. She was really sweet. Yeah, I don't know, it was a lot of people there. I can't remember, that was back in September. But honestly, if it wasn't for that trip, I wouldn't have gotten to learn more about myself, where I come from, where my ancestors come from, and I'm really thankful for Dr. Kitchen and Dr. Burns for letting me have that opportunity to go.
Dr. King, can you talk more about the teach-in and how faculty and staff can be a part of that process?
Yeah, sure. So we have started publicizing it at all 4 community colleges in the Peralta district. We've started out focused on Laney, but so you can be involved in a number of ways. One, being a part of the planning committee, and we are having our first meeting on the 30th of January from 4 to 6 p.m. in T450. And so I will be sending out an announcement about that, and faculty can give students extra credit for participating. A lot of our students are really busy. They have to work and they have to do family responsibilities. So a lot of times they need a little extra encouragement to get a chance to take advantage of the opportunities that we offer for enrichment. So whatever you can do to either bring your class. So another thing is to bring your class to the teach-ins. Our teach-in's going to be in February, most likely, which is very soon. It might be, we have to meet with the committee, but we're thinking of having it be focused on poverty and ending poverty, and there's a Poor People's Campaign that has started. That is a continuation of Dr. Martin Luther King's Poor People's Campaign, and it's coming out of the Reverend William Barber from North Carolina and other leaders from around the country. And we're probably going to have the first teach-in towards the end of February. So faculty can think about putting that, saving some space in their syllabus to attend and bring their classes. Sometimes we have the forum completely filled, and it's a great experience for students to both learn and to share their ideas and their experiences. So you can be a part of the teach-in planning committee, you can attend the teach-in, and you can bring your students to the teach-in.
So as you see, much is happening on our campuses when it comes to campus life and student activities. Our students, faculty, and staff make life on each of our campuses. So we need for you to be involved with us. Help us, partner with us, because we want to make Spring 2018 one of the most active campus events on our 4 campuses. We want to ensure that our students are engaged, that our students are inspired, and that all comes from you, faculty and staff, because they see you, they see us. We need to help mentor them on their journey. And I'm so proud of our 3 students. Let's give them a round of applause. Because if it weren't for students, we wouldn't be here right now. So we're going to have another comment from Ms. Butler. Then we're going to open it up to you to ask us questions.
I just wanted to add another point about faculty participation, or ways that faculty can help support student engagement. You know, we have, as part of the shared governance process, students sitting on committees. And it can be very intimidating and overwhelming for students when they come into these meetings and there's a discussion topic that, you know, most everybody in the room has been talking about for a couple years. So it can be difficult for students to really kind of grasp what's being discussed and know like how to have meaningful conversation or comments on it. So, you know, another way you can just support students is when you see a student, you know, those first couple meetings, just, you know, greet them, you know, make them feel comfortable comfortable so that they don't feel too intimidated, because there's already a power structure there, right? You know, you may be their math teacher and you said something maybe they don't agree with, but they don't necessarily feel comfortable disagreeing with you, you know? So really trying to help students acclimate a little bit more to the whole shared governance process. Something that I've done in the past is have like a faculty, staff, administrator meet and greet, and create an opportunity for the student government leaders to see, you know, who are the administrators, who are the faculty leadership, this classified Senate leadership, who they're going to be interacting with. So already when they go into those meetings, they already kind of feel like they recognize someone. So, you know, I think that's another important way to, you know, just support student engagement and help students feel more comfortable in their roles.
All right, are there any questions from the audience? Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. My name is Diane at American College in biology. And I have a lot of students who have expressed to me an interest in being engaged on campus, but they're parents. And because they have scheduled their lives so tight around who's watching their kids, and things might happen, but they have to jet back home or, you know, relieve the caregiver of the duties of watching their children. So I heard back in the day, we used to have like a community day where we would invite students and their families so they could all kind of engage and share, maybe a bouncy house or picnic and barbecue and all kinds of stuff. And I've never actually witnessed it. And I've been in this district for a long time where I haven't seen a lot of active activities like that where students who are parents are invited to share that experience with more than just themselves, you know, because I don't know how that works out for them, that every activity is, you know, they're discouraging kids from being on campus. They kind of feel weird about even bringing them to go check their grades because they get these notices that students are not supposed to bring kids on campus. So it's just a thought I had that students have expressed to me that that's one of the barriers of being more engaged, is that they don't feel like that they can take that time because they're parents.
To answer the question, my ASO, we have some of our members are parents as well and take classes more towards the evening, and a lot of our events doesn't happen in the evening times. And as an ICC chairperson this year at Merritt College, we will have a couple of evening events, and we also will have like a luau and also trying to have like a carnival day so where parents can bring their kids as well.
I've also had situations where I've had students who were parents. I always do, at my previous school, I always do these presentations at the CalWorks. There's like this counseling course. And so we always had students who would join, and one student, Elizabeth Landa, she had 2 small children when she was on AS, and she was running our food pantry and doing all kind of stuff. So she was really busy. And what happened was the other women who had children on the board, you know, they formed this community where they would support each other as far as like helping out with childcare and different things like that. But then we also wanted to make sure that we were offering events that did reach out to other student populations. So we had a family game night. Recently I did like a movie series, and so we would show different movies in our dining hall. And we had like Moana and Rogue One and the Lego Batman movie, and so a lot of students would contact. I was like, oh, can I bring my kids? Because we had a child development center on campus, so they would pick up their kids, bring them out to the movie, free pizza, popcorn, everything. So we want to send that message to students that you and your kids are welcomed on campus. We have services available for you. But then it also plants a seed in that child's brain, right? Like, oh, I can go to college too. When I was at Kenyatta, we did Kinder Caminata with little, you know, kindergartners, you know, class of 26, you know, so having opportunities for parents to bring their kids is beneficial for everybody.
We have a question for our students, and the question is this. What was the defining moment or experience that encouraged you to become involved in campus life? Any suggestions for how you can support other students to engage in campus life?
The defining moment was when I seen my friend, who's also in student government, cry. She was stressed out by the lack of support she had. And I was like, okay, I need to step up and help. A lot of school student governments are in lack. They need more senators, they need more people to help, or just if you have any spare time to help set up an event. It's really stressful on us as the ones that are already in the student government. So if you're a faculty or staff and you have a class, tell your students, go ask ASMC or the other ASOs around the school, advisors, and how to get involved. It's very simple, very easy, and you can get involved really quick because we need it.
I think the reason I became involved, like I said earlier, is that because of my own personal struggles and because I didn't like what was happening, some things that was happening on campus, and I felt like in order for us to change things that we actually have to get involved as students opposed to just sitting around complaining about things. And so my suggestion is for other students that want to become more engaged is to encourage them. If as best as you can, just try to, as faculty, I suggest locating resources, speaking to your local ASO directors, because they are that that channel to communicate with students and administrators, and just talking to them about even if they can't become a senator, if they can't sit on the ASLC, they can also join other activities, like they can sit on committees. I sat on the committee, the Budget Advisory Committee at the district level. I mean, as a student, it's hard to be consistent because you have studies, especially if you have a lot more challenging, heavier classes. I sat on the budget committee for Laney College for a little while, but just engaging with your students and letting them know, and just finding resources, or even talking to other students that's student leaders on campus, so that they can be able to give them resources or encourage them, and just building the community with other students that's already engaged on campus.
All right, and the last question is, what are some of the challenges you face as you organize events for students on campus? So this will be between Asia and myself. One of my challenges was trying to hit most of our demographics, most of our population of students. We can't hit everyone, but it was brought to my attention that we were not doing much for our Asian students at Merritt College. So I sat down with a person just to glean from them exactly what is needed, what can we do in student life to make that happen. And I spoke with one of my colleagues here at Laney College, Charlene Chu, and she mentioned, why don't you have a Lunar New Year event? So she and I, we got together, we spoke about it, we thought out the logistics, the date, all of that. So we were able to have our first Lunar New Year celebration at Merritt College last year. And it was a great success. It was publicized. We had, it was the Chinese orchestra from San Francisco that came and performed. We had lion dancers. So my challenge early on was to see how we can meet the needs of our Asian American students. Spoke with my colleague, we partnered, and we then produced the first annual Lunar New Year event, which was a success. And our second Lunar New Year event will be on February 6th.
Yes. All right, good job. So some of the challenges that I've had is really about how to break that student habit of going to class, going home, right? Because students are already kind of in their routine, and in order to get them to come to an event, you kind of got to really disrupt that pattern. And so I went from like doing certain events, like instead of scheduling them in a lounge or in a classroom or somewhere else, I started doing them outside, you know? So for a while, it was kind of like, oh, if you build it, they'll come, you know, the Field of Dreams type situation. But with students, not so much, you know, unless, like, when we're out in the quad doing a concert or providing free food, like, that's a no-brainer. But when we're trying to do certain events, like Dia de los Muertos, or, you know, and students got to, you know, route and try to find this room, so coming up with different ways to really interject into and break up that student routine. So I created this. It was, really simple, wanting to be mindful of the time. Like, students don't have a lot of time. So I wanted to come up with something where students could engage in an activity or project 5 to 7 minutes, be on your way. So I did like this little craft booth. I called it Cookies and Crafts. It was out in the quad. We did sugar skulls, so we did a sugar skull workshop, and then we did thank you cards. And so the thank you cards, for people like, oh, I'm not too creative, I had like 3 designs that they could choose from, right? So making it super simple. And it was amazing how, students, they would walk by, what's this? And they would come in, one student would come in, another student would come in, and then next it was like a whole table just full of students making sugar skulls or making cards. So really trying to really interject into the student routine and break that up. And like I said before, like with that movie, we used to do our movies in a classroom, but nobody was showing up, and so we're paying a lot of money for these movies because we're buying the copyright. So it was a very expensive event. So I said, well, let's just move it into the cafeteria, provide some free food. Students are already there, and it worked out perfectly. Faculty, staff, everybody's, out there watching the movie. So, we really kind of have to break how we think students should engage with us and just go to where they are. Like I said, do responsive programming, but again, making sure that we are trying to engage with faculty. My approach when I'm planning an event or thinking about an event that I feel like faculty support is needed, like a speaker or something, I start with the faculty members first and say, hey, if I do this event, will you commit to bring your class? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. So that's where I start with the faculty first, because I don't want to get caught in a situation where I've paid a couple $1,000s for a speaker and nobody's there.
So with that said, we need your support now more than ever to ensure that our students on our campus have life, so that our students would know that you are engaged with them, because when our students succeed, we succeed. We want to thank our panel. And we look forward to an exciting spring 2018. Thank you.
Good morning. I see a lot of familiar faces, but for those who don't know me, my name is Ronald Moss, and I have a variety of roles at Merritt College. I started as a student in 2009, class of 2012. I've been on the staff briefly, part-time, but I'm here this morning in my current role as the executive director of a community partner located on the Merritt College campus, which is the Gamble Institute. So, I have a presentation that I want to share, and I want you to think about a question as I show you who we are as an institution and who Merritt is as one of the thought leaders and foremost programs working with our formerly incarcerated population. And that question is, what can you do to support the reintegration efforts and improve the academic outcome of Peralta's formerly incarcerated student population? So as we move through this presentation, I just want you to hold that question and think about how you might answer it. We're here because of the AB 109 Reentry and Reintegration Initiative, Alameda County. And that's basically an initiative that began in about 2011 because of overcrowding in our prison systems. And they decided that they were going to spend some money to realign the prison system or the correction system. That they moved a lot of students or incarcerated individuals from prison to county jails. That's kind of the long, short story. So I want you to hold on to that thought. But the carceral state has a different effect because that includes the criminal justice system, law enforcement, oppression and poverty in communities that are highly policed. So when I talk about the carceral state, we have to think about all of these entities that are brought to bear on our formerly incarcerated students. One of the things that we deal with most, and we really don't have an answer for, is adequate housing. And from that perspective, upon release, we see our students having 2 tracks. Primarily, the desire is for unemployment to earn. so that they can make money and take care of their families. I personally believe that oftentimes that's a setup for failure, because nothing comes that, that could be considered a change in mindset with just going to work. However, if we take an educational track, there are so many things that we can learn, and these students learn discovery, new iterations of themselves, new narratives about their personal understanding about life. They actually have the opportunity to become a constructive member of their community. And at the core of all of that is the constant threat of recidivism and reincarnation. So what are we doing? Are our students re-entering into our community, or are they just returning to the streets, waiting to go back to jail? And that's a question that hasn't been answered yet. The recidivism rate is up around 62%. It's been reduced a little bit in the county into approximately the 40s or 45%. But some would say that's just a shell game, because they're being moved around from prison to jail or doing what we call short bids or short sentences in the county and not being sent to prison. Or if they violate, they're being sent to county jail and not back to prison. So they think the numbers are being reduced when in actuality, they're just moving them somewhere else. So one of the problems, or many of the problems, or some of the problems that we face is that many exit the carceral state, attempt to re-enter the community, and they have a plethora of unmet needs and multiple challenges to safe reentry or successful reentry. And it's not about safe housing all the time, or excuse me, it's not about affordable housing, but about safe housing, because they're put into environments where they were incarcerated from. They're returning to environments where they found trouble, got in trouble, got caught cases, and ended up being incarcerated. So if we send them back to those same neighborhoods, what are we expecting? Also, substantive education. For so many years, education in the carceral system was a high school education or a GED, primarily. About 60%, some say as high as 72 or 3%, only have a 10th grade education of our incarcerated citizens. So when they return to our community, they barely, many of them have difficulty with basic skills such as reading and writing. So they come to us where we take all comers, and they're very hampered by their inability to compete academically. And we have to find ways to assuage those challenges. Obviously, vocational skills or lack of competitive job skills, estranged from family. I've seen everything from people returning home where their family was engaged in criminal activity, so just by associating with their family, they were violating their probation or parole. I've seen students come to me who used to sell drugs, and they were trying to get away from that lifestyle, and their family wanted them to go back to selling drugs to help them support the family. So you'll find all kinds of challenges that we as educators or as supporters or community activists, social justice warriors, whatever we are, we don't even know these kinds of challenges exist for some of our students. And then there's some others, struggling with drug abuse, undiagnosed mental illness is a big one, and post-incarceration syndrome, just think of that as post-traumatic stress disorder. That's just the name they give it for those who are coming from the carceral system. And so, what have we learned? At the Gamble Institute, we've done multiple levels of data collection and research, and we found that post-secondary education has a positive impact on lowering recidivism. Peer support is important because the peer support is the authentic support from someone who's had the criminal justice experience. That gives it a certain relevance, it gives it a certain authenticity. And sometimes many of our formerly incarcerated students don't listen to those of us who haven't had that authentic experience. So that becomes something that we found to be very important. Peer mentoring programs, particularly those developed with formerly incarcerated persons' input, seems to have a greater rate of participation and retention. And we've had some success with that here at the Gamble Institute at Merritt College. One of the stats that was really glaring When I say efforts revealed some helpful data and some unsettling results, those unsettling results was a program that did outreach and enrollment, and we sampled a number of their files, a sample size of 547, and we found that 63% of those students did not complete one semester. 73% did not complete an academic school year, and less than 1% achieved an actual associate's degree. Dr. Love, who, I'm gonna back up because I think that's important, and he was a mentor of mine, who says, formerly incarcerated students who make it through their third semester seem to transition from just going to school to becoming a student. I think that connects directly with the last discussion and how these students become a part of our environment. They become a part of the campus life, and they learn new ways of being that are very different from their life on the streets. Many of my students come up to Merritt, and they say, so this is what they're doing in college? They see young women running around, they see professional people, they're having very different conversations than they're used to, productive, progressive conversations about being a productive member of society and giving back to the community as opposed to being a blight and a taker. And we see shifts in narratives and shifts in mindsets occurring along those lines every day as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out some of the other programs. Gamble Institute started at Merritt College in 2012, but there's some amazing work going on around the district. And I would point to my colleague and friend Roger Chung, who started the Restoring Our Communities program here at Laney, and his colleagues, who are all here. Stand up, take a bow, folks. Roger Chung, Alejandra Landon, and Vincent Garrett. I consider them all very close friends and allies and colleagues in this work. And this is straight off of their ROC webpage, sort of truncated, the abbreviated version. Our goal is to support and equip formerly incarcerated and justice systems impacted students with the tools to be successful at Laney College and beyond. And the asterisks are formerly incarcerated, speaks to those who have been in city, county, jail, state, federal prison, military, and immigrant detention. And systems impacted, it refers to students who have been impacted by the carceral state, have had family members that are impacted by the carceral state. I heard a story about a man who spent 6 months in county jail and he lost his job. And although he didn't go to prison, the fact that he lost his job changed his life in a negative way, obviously. So although he may not have been incarcerated per se, the impact of a short stay in jail changed his life irreparably, excuse me. So, and we also have a program run by Paula Armstead, coordinated by Tracy King, and supported by Nicole Kelly, the New Dream program. And they've been there, I know there's been several iterations. It started out as Open Gate, and it is now New Dream. And they first came on my radar probably about 2013 or 14. So they've been around for a couple of years. And some of the things that they do, we are all very consistent in our approach. Program for returning citizens who are on probation or parole, students transitioning into college, programs tailored to the individual need of the student, and students have access to available resources, which is something that I think we all do. And we've had conversations at Berkeley City. Primarily what they're doing at Berkeley is they have ambassadors who come from UC Berkeley, and they talk to students or formerly incarcerated students who are interested in transferring to Cal. But to my knowledge to date, we don't have a program per se that supports all of our formerly incarcerated students at Berkeley City College, but that's a conversation that we're having with a couple of representatives from BCC who I see in the audience right now. How you doing, Andre? And that brings us back to us, the Street Scholars Peer Mentoring Program, and what we're doing at Merritt College. And basically, Street Scholars is a mentoring program that supports the academic success of our formerly incarcerated and systems impacted students. We serve men and women who are on community supervision, i.e. probation or parole. And we support students who have completed their supervision but are struggling to achieve long-term stability. Our program is run by yours truly and supported by Earthy Young, who's the assistant director, and Drew Gabriel, who is our new student and youth services coordinator. He's sitting right down front. And Brandon Hargrave is the gentleman that I just brought on board who's working with some of our students that I spoke about earlier who were being challenged with some of the rudimentary skills, English, math, and basic computer skills. So he's our newest tutor and he's doing an excellent job as well. So some of the conceptual frameworks and what we believe. We are very much, the conversation is always about best practices and evidence-based practices. And one of the things that we know in social learning theory is that people learn and adopt new behaviors through positive and negative reinforcement, observation, and skills practice. So what kind of behaviors are we modeling for our students becomes very important. Is it positive behavior? I think in an academic environment, the answer to that question is absolutely. I think that the chancellor mentioned sometimes we don't always see eye to eye. But we manage to work out those differences in a positive way and try to get to the solution and not remain in the problem. I'll never forget the day when I took Drew to a meeting with me and there was a disagreement. And at the end of the meeting, we were walking back to the office and he said, "Ron, you mean y'all can have a disagreement and it doesn't result in violence? That's a thing?" And so, you know, not to put you on blast, bruh, but for a brother who's been gang banging from the crib, did his time, has now re-entering society, and is doing an excellent job going into his 4th semester at Merritt College. I think that that transformation should be acknowledged. And it's all based in the authentic peer support. We're able to have real conversations. It's not pretentious. It's not, erudite. This esoteric, high, lofty thinking conversation. It's down on the ground. This is where we come from. This is what we go through, and this is how we get through it. We support drug and alcohol recovery, obviously academic and vocational achievement, and we believe that successful reentry and reintegration in an academic environment results in reduced recidivism and a few of our students being reincarcerated. More theory, self-determination theory. Motivation to change is increased by addressing basic factors of autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Students who think of their own reasons for wanting to change are more likely to work harder to facilitate that change. SMART goals for competence. If we can help them set some goals, talk to them about their personal strengths, instead of doing the deficit, blame the victim for being challenged. We look at the strengths that has them here today and persevering through those challenges and giving them positive feedback, even on the smallest of successes, I think says a lot to them about who they are, changing that personal narrative, moving away from felon, convict, even formerly incarcerated to student, academic, scholar, terms that they're unfamiliar with, but they're learning as they persevere in this environment. Relatedness, positive pro-social skills. You don't think your way into a new way of acting. You act your way into a new way of thinking. And by doing that, consistently showing up every day and receiving the positive reinforcement that we give our students, they actually are able to facilitate a change that even they didn't realize they were capable of. Our core concepts are basic. They're non-punitive. We don't judge. Once a street scholar, always a street scholar. You drop out, you relapse, you don't show up. When you come back, you're still one of us, and we embrace you with open arms. We did that yesterday with a brother who dropped out last semester. He showed up out of the blue. He's coming back to school, and it was all love. Peer-driven. I come from the same seats as a student, as a Merritt College student. This isn't about me, but contextually speaking, as one who came to Merritt College when I lost my job, graduated from Merritt, transferred to Cal, completed my undergrad, and went on to complete a master's at Cal, I can actually lay a trail of breadcrumbs for these students that is authentic, and I can explain to them what their challenges are going to be at every leg of the journey. And that's part of what I do, and that's what I try to teach my team. Obviously, open physical environment, we don't have desks. Our conference table is round. We have round tables so that it's peer-to-peer. It isn't hierarchical, top-down. I don't sit behind a desk and talk down to my students. We sit at a table and we share ideas. And obviously, relationships with key stakeholders. As a community partner, that would be Merritt College. That would be ROC. That would be New Dream. And we all work collaboratively together. Some of our program components include just the simple thought of demystifying and helping students navigate the academic landscape. That is huge. I think that just by virtue of being a college student, we expect them to know certain things. And with this population, they're not going to say, I don't know that, and they're not going to ask for help. So we need to be very intentional about sharing what we understand is complicated, and you don't have to feel less than because you don't realize that. And when you go to the admissions office and the lady tells you, well, all you have to do is 1, 2, 3, and the other thing, and all you hear is Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 because it doesn't make sense, you bring that information back to me, and we'll help you figure it out. Obviously, I mentioned our tutor. We have tutoring in math and English and computer skills. We have individual peer mentoring. We have group mentoring, empowerment circles, and healing circles. Empowerment circles are more for the guys, and the healing circles are more for the women. At least that's how it was. We thought it would play. I know that that's like gendered and probably not a good idea, but it didn't play like that. It was everybody just at the table sharing ideas. Man, woman, black, white, Hispanic. It just was everybody came to the table and brought their authentic selves, and the ability to be vulnerable without judgment was a large part of that initiative as well. And obviously, career development and transfer support. I give my man Roger credit. I could not leave that out because in the conversation that he and I were having, we talked about, and I don't mean to use this in a negative way, but we were talking about Berkeley City and them having a transfer pathway to UC Berkeley, which has been the case all along. But we were trying to think about it, being more intentional about having a safety net for all of our formerly incarcerated students. And maybe they just wanted to have a CTE program, get a certificate, and go to work. And Roger coined the phrase from CTE to PhD. And to me, I think that embodies who we are as a district and how we need to think about our students wherever they are on their academic track. So these are some summaries about some of the qualitative findings. In 2012 and 13, we did several focus group research projects. We did a lot of data analysis from the information that we collected, and we came up with 4 themes. One being the structure of school is beneficial both to recovery and reducing maladaptive behavior. The challenges to success is intangible and practical, and academic success enhances self-efficacy. And finally, peer support is essential to academic success. And these are narratives that literally came out of the focus group research that we did. Charles talks about he could be selling dope, but he decided that he's want to finish what he started when he started school, and by staying in school, he stays out of the streets and stays out of the penitentiary.